Welcome to the Answer Media Network. Tonight, we're talking about uh, Let's Talk Sports. And we have our special guest, Coach Bobby Porter from Utah. And hey, Bobby.
How you doing?
Doing well. As we open the show, I've got a surprise for you and something that our guest will get excited about seeing. Just hold on just a second so I can get it set up.
Okay. Oh man. Representing the state of Utah. Representing the state of Utah. Oh, great state to live in. We got great community support. We got great family. Oh boy. Boy. That you have a great team that works as a team. You have a great family who gives all kinds of support. Then you have a great community for what they don't even have kids playing. They come and support us. But last but not least, we're in a great state. And to be able to represent the state of Utah in 1A is one of the greatest feelings in my life. God bless you. God bless you. Wow. You didn't tell me it was going to be a roast.
Hey, now let me get out of here and get back to you. So, hey, what do you think about that?
Oh man, that was that's wild. That was true emotion. It was a great feeling, and I was a little bit more subdued last year when we won, but a lot of people didn't know the adversity that we had to go through to win it.
Uh-huh.
I had some good young men, man. I've been blessed. I've had some good young men, and to be able to break the color barrier in the state of Utah was huge.
Really,
huge.
really. And that's not your first championship.
No. That was my second one, and been blessed to have three of them, and one runner up. Well, we should have won, but we lost it by 1 point.
Uh-huh.
So it was something, but it was a great ride. I had to laugh because we win because they don't pay any attention to me. So
yeah, I don't quite believe that, but and I've been over there to your facility and watched your program. I was there for a day watching you work with the students in the gym and watching their respect for you. So like I said, I don't believe that at all. Tell me a little bit about before we get into this. First of all, I want our viewing audience to know that, we go way back.
Yes, we do.
And you were one of my mentors in high school. Of course, it kind of dates you. But, you're the real deal. I have a great deal of respect for you. And I just want you to have an opportunity to tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been blessed, man. Like I said, I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, where I talk about the great men of Dayton impacted my life. We had First Dayton Little League where Mr. Smith ran that, and it was Mr. Harris and Mr. Bass, and it was just so many great men, there for Little League. And then I was blessed to have some great coaches, man. Coaches that impacted my life, even Mr. Cooley, who was your coach.
Yes.
I played football for Westwood Elementary, where a lot of people didn't know. And Cooley kept calling me a fish. He said, one day this fish gonna swim. And so I had to laugh at that. And he great man with a great sense of humor. And then of course when I went to Rolfe, shucks, man, I was blessed to be able to have Coach Haley, who really, really, really
truly believed in me, man. When the freshman coach wanted to cut me, yeah, and Coach Chapman, who said, "No, we ain't gonna cut nobody who's 6'5" as a freshman in our program." So, it was something. They gave me a shot, and they helped build my self-esteem, man. It was a situation where Coach Haley, he blessed me, man, because every day he used to pick me up, man, 3 times a week, not every day. And we would go work out, man. He would buy me milkshakes and everything, and it was a great relationship there. And man, I miss that man. To be
Yeah.
able to come back, and he gave me my first coaching job and at Rolfe High School with the freshmen, and then I moved up to JV, and then I became his right hand man, And Coach Haley did a lot of good for a lot of people, And I know sometimes people want to focus in on the negative, but I always love to look at the positive on people, man, because we can always look at negative. But what impact did you do? How were you helping or trying to help the community? And it was a situation when you look at it, Coach Haley is the only man who brought championships. He brought a championship to Roosevelt, city championship to Roosevelt. He brought the state championships to Rolfe, and he brought state championships to Dunbar. And he did a great job. And Coach Chapman, here's a man who died on the floor at 33 years of age. He showed us how to dress, and made sure our shoes were shined. Made sure that we had on the appropriate clothes. I'll never forget this though, man. He would tell us, you know what? If you don't look right, you're not gonna ride with me.
and Bobby, that is a mark of leadership that in our era we were able to enjoy, and it really benefited us because Coach Cooley was the same way.
Yeah.
He required us to dress properly. He required us to treat the opposite sex properly. And, we saw guys that, like Uncle Bob Patterson, if he disrespected his mother, he set the bench. And today they just it seems to be today that coaches miss the character and the leadership part because they'll let that slide by just so that they can win games. And that's one of the things I really respect about you, because when I was over there, it's not just based upon what I knew of you 40 years ago. Yeah. I see that trait carrying on through, and I wanted to bring you on so that you can share that with our viewing audience. And by the way, this is being recorded, so it will be aired on. And I just wanted to see you when I brought your picture up and your video up with all your team members jumping you.
I've been trying to get him to take that down, but
hey, let me get into asking you some questions here. Because champions are not born; they're made.
That's right.
And so, what would you say are 3 or 4, maybe 5 traits that you require to build a champion? In your, whether it's a champion for life or it's a champion on the court?
Well, the first thing is a champion or a person that I look for, the trait I look for is a person who's about we instead of me. Because no matter what you're doing, you're going to always be on a team, whether it be on your job, whether it be at church, whether it be even in your community involvement where you live, you're always going to be on the team, and it's got to be we instead of me. It's something that you got to sacrifice some of your personal identity for the greater goal. And, that's the biggest thing that you have to do. You have to let young people know that, hey, anybody can be selfish, but can you be selfless? And I think that's the biggest thing. I look at that at first. I look at a young person who wants to work, who wants to be about it rather than talk about it. We got a lot of talkers out there, but are you actually going to do what other people don't want to do so you could be able to make yourself a champion? And then, of course, you got to be coachable. That's the biggest thing. You got to learn how to trust somebody. That's when we talk about coachable, but we're talking about actually trusting someone. You know, putting down your defensive guards and saying to myself, I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to trust that you have my well-being at heart. And I'm going to sacrifice myself for the betterment of the team because I trust you. So that's another trait that I look for. The other trait that I look for is a person who wants to be a student athlete rather than an athlete student. Because anybody can be an athlete student. That's a shortcut. It's about a student athlete where that when your teammates are dependent on you, they don't have to worry about losing you to grades because you care that much about your team that you're doing what you need to do in the classroom so that you will not be a deficit to the team. And last but not least, what's really, really important is somebody who wants to give back to the community. You know, when we talk about that and people were sacrificing so that you can be able to get ahead, people were sacrificing who were trying to tell you to stay on the right track. Are you going to come back and are you going to be that same type of person when you become an adult?
No,
that's the 5 traits that I look for.
That's powerful stuff. You know, when I was thinking about this interview, I thought about you and Tom Horton coming out to my home on a regular basis, and sometimes we practiced up into the wee hours of the morning.
That's right. That's right.
And you know, so work ethic is something that I try to drive home to the youth that we serve. And why don't you expound on work ethic? Because that's something that seems to be missing in this generation.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, there's no short. You hear this cliche all the time. There's no shortcut to success. But what happens is when you have to do repetition, you know what I mean? You got to get out there when other people aren't doing things. You got to get out there in the snow. Remember, we're out there in the snow.
Yeah. Yes.
You got to get out there, man, in the rain.
You
got to get out there in the sun. You got to get out there when you don't really want to get out there. You got to be able to actually be dedicated, so that you can be able to enhance your team at the moment that you need to enhance your team. I mean, it's just think about it. And I it was so funny. It seems like yesterday when you were running around here talking about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and trying to hit that last second shot.
Yeah.
And you practice those moments.
Yes.
You see what I mean? And you live those moments and you envision those moments.
Yes.
So what happens is it made you a better player because you played games within a game. That's work ethic. When you do what other people won't do, when other people are sleeping, you're up there and you're saying, I got to get out and I got to get this done, which impacts your life. I mean, it's many days that we get up and we don't want to go and do things, but we know that in order for things to be good, in order for things to be close to perfect, that we have to give that extra. So we do it. And that's what it is. Doing things what other people won't do. And that's really, really important.
Yeah, and Coach Bobby, I was so impacted when, I sit in the van with you and your wife and you were talking about, feeding your players. And tell our viewing audience a little bit about the exchange program that you have there, because I was so amazed about how many interns you all have from out of the country coming, learning academics, learning character, learning sports, and excelling.
Yeah, we've been really blessed because not only are they learning, but they're teaching too. I've learned so much about different cultures. It's unreal. I mean, we have kids from Australia. We have kids from Rwanda. We have kids from Nigeria. We have kids from Tanzania. We have kids from Chile. We have kids from China. We have kids from Japan. It's really funny. And we have kids from Spain. We have kids from Italy. And we do have kids from the United States too. Yeah. But it's something when you look at it, it's sort of like a true melting pot. And when they get together and they exchange their culture along with our kids' culture, it's a true learning experience. And it's fun. I mean, it's so much fun because they tell you about little things that we take for granted as a U.S. citizen.
Like what?
Well, McDonald's. I had to keep them away from McDonald's. They would eat McDonald's 24/7, man. And then what happens is, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, ho. It's some other. Well, coach, let's try something. Okay, we take them to Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? Oh, they love Kentucky Fried Chicken. But when I take them to churches, man, Lord have mercy. Everybody loves churches. So these kids are something else, man. And you know, we have fun, and when they when you be able to see that they're mastering our language, when they've been able to go on to college on other people's money, that's one of the things that I definitely stress is, you know, the you're playing for a reason, you know, and so I'm trying to coach you to go to college on other people's money. And you know what? If you work hard, you will be in college on other people's money. You know, last year we had seven graduating seniors, and all 7 of them are in college on other people's money. The year before, we had 6, and we had 5 who went to college on other people's money. The other person said he just wanted to go home, and so he did. And, you know, that's what we try to do. You know, people talk about state championships, but my state championship is when I go see these kids go across the stage and knowing that they're going to college on other people's money, man.
And when you say other people's money, they got scholarships.
That's correct. That's what I call OPM, baby.
What would you, if you were to look back and think about the number of student athletes you work with, which one would stand out in your mind and why?
Oh man. Man, oh man, it's been it's been crazy. That's a really hard question, man. I have been blessed. I mean, I've got former players who are 55 years old, and they're emailing me now, telling me they're retiring. You know? I'm serious. It's something else. 55, 57.
Because you've been in this for a long time.
Yes, I have. 37 years, man.
Just to bring this into perspective,
okay,
I will be 60
in
2 months. And you started working with me when I was a junior. I was headed to be a junior in high school.
Right.
So
right.
I know I'm asking you an impactful question. Are you still in LA or are you back at home?
No, I'm back at home. I got back from LA last night.
Tell us what you did in LA.
Well, I was at the Point Guard clinic, and it was a blessing, man. Matter of fact, PGC clinic camps for coaches are incredible. I know I'm not trying to do a commercial for them, but it was great. I spent a lot of time last night with Jim Herrick, who was a former head coach of UCLA, and then also an incredible young man by the name of Phil. Oh, what's Phil's last name? Oh man, he's the associate head coach at Boise State, and Phil's the trainer for Damian Lillard. You know, and he was at Weber State, but Phil Beckner is his name. And Phil, man, was incredible. I mean, I've learned a lot of things, but sometimes you have to rehash some things and find out that old school is still the best school.
Yes.
And it was incredible, man.
What goes on at that camp?
I'm sorry?
What goes on at that clinic? Because
what they do is it was at the Hilton Hotel. And they broke down how to there was so many different things. It was how to develop your players from an NBA level all the way down to a high school level. They also had Duke's associate head coach was there who broke down the 7 basic drills that Duke does every day. Then you also had Herrick, who was talking about how to motivate young athletes today. And then what happens is, man, they were just talking about the basic fundamentals, and then they had films to go along with it. But then also what happens on the breakdown, we were able to do a chalk session, which was incredible. And they stayed around and talked, and not only that, with your membership, that you're able to go to the PGC library, which has 59 offensive clinics that they have done, and 44 defensive clinics that they got done, and lectures on transition, and it's tremendous. It was
all of that
time.
Is archived.
Yes, all of this was archived, and
wow,
man, it's great. It was great, and it was my first one, so it was just like a little boy waiting on Christmas, man. When they opened up the door and I ran in, I was like, wow. I normally go to the Nike coaches clinics in Las Vegas all the time, and they do a good job. But this PGC, man, it has a lot of the younger coaches, and I'm looking forward to in March going to Texas and seeing Shaka Smart. He's going to be at the PGC camp.
PGC represents point guard.
Yeah, point guard clinics.
Okay. Now I understand that you are going to be you and your team are going to be in Las Vegas.
That's correct.
Competing against a national platform. What's that about?
Yes, what happens is we're in Las Vegas at the Tarkanian tournament. And, sometimes people think I'm foolish, but I always like to go against the best competition. I'll never forget that Coach Chapman said, in order to be the best, you got to play the best. And,
that's right.
Oak Hills Academy, everybody's going to be there. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's from December the 20th to the 23rd. And it's going to be an incredible time, man. Incredible time. Everybody who's who, some of the best players in the country are there. And it's just so many college coaches there. It's incredible. But I'm also working out, man, because, I have my junior class is really good. And I'm just looking forward to just trying to get back home to Dayton, Ohio next year and go to flying to the hoop. That's my goal.
And how did you finally commit to that? I mean, did they I know they're doing an incredible job at flying to the hoops. And I think I don't recall any of the alumni from Dayton, Ohio, who might be coaching. I've never seen any of those teams come to Dayton. So how did that evolve?
Well, they talked to me a couple of years ago. And my whole thing is that when you come home, you got to come home right, though. So,
hey, and I'm going to be there. I haven't gone. I
got a team that will be well represented now. So,
and I understand it. Am I correct? You have a 7-footer this year?
Well, he's 6'10 3/4. He's a 16-year-old.
Hey, Bobby, I was watching Steve Harvey one day, and they were asking questions about Shaquille O'Neal, and they were asking questions about what size his diapers were. And now, when you were in the 6th grade, how tall were you?
In the 6th grade, I was 5'10 1/2. Yeah.
And when did you start taking off?
Well, I was 4'11 in the kindergarten, man.
Oh, so, wow! And how?
I had to hear all the jokes about me flunking kindergarten, and they held me back because I couldn't eat milk and cookies right, and all of that. But yeah, I've always been the tallest person in my class, man, all the way through. So
yeah,
it was something. It was something.
So what size was your diaper?
I'm sorry.
I said, what size was your diaper?
You better watch my little granddaughter, man. She's huge, man. She just turned 1 on the 28th, and I got to see her while I was in California. So she's pretty big for her age. So I keep teasing my son. He better keep working because matter of fact, he's the assistant girls coach at Pepperdine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's we'll go out there and see his first game November the 10th. So it is something. But yeah, our granddaughter is huge. She's huge.
Hey, let me ask this question, because we have a lot of athletes, and many of them they're just roughing it. To be honest with you, the parents They're excited about their sons and their daughters, but they don't really know some of the steps that they need to take in order to, keep coaches accountable, to keep their sons and daughters accountable, to move them forward. And I know you utilize a lot of tools on the computer so that you can track what their progress is. Of course, academics is a big thing. So
Right.
how does a parent keep a balance between these things and keep things moving forward?
Well, first of all, a lot of parents are more concerned about playing time than they are about grades. And I'm just going to say this. I think the world of Mark Baker. He was one of my former players. I was blessed to coach him. But I really was kind of hurt. Well, I wasn't kind of hurt. I was hurt to see that they dropped the academic standards in the city of Dayton to under a 2 point. And the reason being is you got to be competitive with the rest of the world. And if you drop that academic standard, it's going to hurt. They have to be student athletes, not athlete students.
Right.
Because what happens is no matter how good you are, one day that ball's not going to bounce, or you're not going to be able to catch that pass or hit that ball. And you got to be able to account for yourself. You got to be able to read. You got to be able to do math. You got to be able to speak, and if we keep getting shortcuts to young people, man, then we're not going to be able to reach our goal. And I think the best thing that parents can do in answering your question is hold your kids accountable to being a student athlete. The wins and losses are great. You want people want to win, they don't want to lose, but you lose in life when you don't have an education. And I think that's really, really important that they understand that we send our kids to school so they can get educated.
Right.
And what happens is that you can send them to the camps, you can send them other places that you need to send them. In the meantime, you hold your coaches accountable by showing up. You show up, you watch, you see, you understand what's going on. But don't be just hollering about playing time, because kids have to earn playing time. You can't give them playing time. It's all right to be a helicopter parent, but you shouldn't be a Black Hawk. Okay,
right,
you should
right,
be right down on that kid. On that coach. You got to allow the coaches to coach, but you also got to reinforce certain things. You got to reinforce that you're there for education. You got to reinforce to teach a kid to push through adversity rather than quit at the first time at what they didn't get, what they wanted. And nobody's entitled in this world. You have to work for what you get. And that's the message you have to send your kid. Just because your kid's been in a program 3 years, okay, and came up through the system, doesn't mean that if somebody moves in who's better than him, that your kid is supposed to play before him.
It doesn't give him, there's no entitlements.
Right. No entitlements. That's our problem with our society today, is that we have too many people who feel entitled.
Right.
We have to work for what we get. And if you work hard enough for what you deserve or what you get, you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. Just think about how many balls you had to shoot.
Yeah.
How many times it was cold outside. That Dayton, Ohio weather.
Right.
That hawk is blowing on you and your hands is frozen, but you're still out there.
Right.
Rather than you sitting in the house and you just playing the NBA 2K. You're out there actually doing it. You're out there doing those push-ups. You're out working people. So teach them work ethic. Teach them how to be a good student athlete, and it'll happen for you.
And when we set standards before them, it gives them a target to shoot at.
That's
and
right.
When we hold those standards steady, it tells them that you can't compromise and nothing's going to be given to you. And in our generation, we work for what we got, And so we have to really turn the tide again, because I think the programs like AAU and others, they started out right, but how many people do we know that we actually know that that reflect what's going on with Rick Pitino right now. There's so many ball players that they've been buying cars for and giving money and clothes and things of that nature so that they can stack their teams and win. I think competition is out of perspective.
Well, let me interject on that, because being a Christian man that I am, they've been doing that a long time about giving cars and monies and things of that nature. But that's once that you have made it to college. One of the things that have happened now is, and you will find out really soon, the AAU programs is getting ready to get slapped, because the ones who are running some of these AAU programs are running it for profit, huge profit. They're not like the Mr. Pearsons of the day who, had everybody selling cupcakes and everything for the Mohawks. And,
right.
You had people who were showing that you had to work for certain things. But a lot of the AAU guys are getting paid, by this company or that company, and they're trying to market themselves. And people are, I'm sorry, prostituting our youth. And the biggest thing is, it's not the youth getting it, it's the people who's running these teams.
Right.
And that's before, when I was coming through, it was us. We were getting it. I mean, I look at my mailbox and have some money, and that's what I'm saying. But it's not like that. And I tease the athletes today that they made the rules for you guys because we messed things up. So,
well, I know a few years ago, you and I were chatting, and I brought up the subject of the question as to whether or not you thought that college athletes should get remuneration in some way. They've been getting it anyway, and but they get it when they get a scholarship. So do you have an opinion on whether or not they should change the rules and regulations that amateur sports should be able to get some type of compensation?
I do. I really believe that that the college athletes should be paid, and I mean a stipend. I think that's really, really important, because what happens is you get college coaches, some college coaches now, who are getting in trouble because a kid who was hungry, who didn't have any money and couldn't call home for money, went and bought them a couple of chicken sandwiches.
They're getting in trouble for that.
Stupid. And what happens is, I used to get mad at first, but they were doing some things for me. But when you look up and you see somebody 350 pounds and got your name on the back of your jersey, then I sold your jersey. And you're like, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Why you getting paid? I'm not. And
wow.
It's just something. And from the other point, the side, other viewpoint, other person's viewpoint, or some people say who are just students, they'll say, hey, you're already getting paid because you're getting a college scholarship. No, because we're playing and the program's being successful, your tuition is lower. Okay? So that's one thing. Your tuition is lower because we're playing and we're being successful. Number two is, I'm sorry, when you're pushing a pencil, okay, and you say, I'm 40 years old or 50 years old or even 60 years old, I got those aches and pains from playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Your body goes through a lot of turmoil, man, to be able to play this game, especially from college on.
Yes.
From college and pros, it's something. It's a grind. It's a really grind. And some days you get up in the morning, and some days you get up, and some days you can't.
Oh my! So tell me about it.
What happened?
And the thing about it is, until some of these things are adjusted, they're just going to be done under the table.
Oh yes, you're right. The rich get richer. I mean, it's okay. They slapped Pitino, which I still think Pitino will get out of it. But there's a lot of people doing this, and they've been doing it for a long time. And by them doing it for a long time, it's going to continue. They're going to continue to do it. It's big business. It's big business.
A big cash cow. I mean, how much money do you suppose big programs like that bring in a night?
A night? Let's just go with Ohio State. Ohio State, when they play, and their team's not really good right now, but I guarantee you, they're definitely profiting over six figures a night.
Yeah,
over $100,000 a night.
And we can break that down. Ticket sales,
concessions, parking, memorabilia. I mean, all of that. They're definitely in six figures every night. Every night.
And so they hire those coaches.
Feeding people beer and hot dogs, and they're going to make some money.
And those coaches are one of their biggest cash cows. The coaches and those players, that is the center focus so that they can make all that money. Right.
Well, you got to understand, when you have a program like a Kentucky, you have a program like that with the notoriety and everybody's buying their jerseys and everything. So you bring it in, and you go to the NCAA tournament, which that automatically gets you like $5 million. Okay, $5 to $10 million for just that. Okay, so now what happens is, we're not even talking about your ticket sales. Okay, you get that for just going. But then what happens is that you got a situation where you look up and you got the regular games or your rivalry games or your TV revenue games. Okay, your TV revenue game where the school is getting from 40, 50 to 100 million just for the TV revenue. So it's big business. Now you got Nike or Adidas or Under Armour who's sponsoring your team, who also is giving you and the coach a stipend too. I can't call it a stipend because you got a situation where you get millions of dollars, so that can't be a stipend.
Well, why don't we call that a bonus?
I'm sorry?
Why don't we call that a bonus?
Yeah, a bonus. Yeah. So when you got all of that going for you, now you look up and you say to yourself, wow, I mean, I can demand, if I'm Rick Pitino and I know that my team is bringing in the college at least $75 to $100 million a year, I can tell you, you got to pay me at least $7.7 million. And I'm going to get me a car, and I ain't got to worry about my suits because somebody going to want me to put on the suit so they can say Rick Pitino is wearing this suit.
Right.
So I get all my clothes free. You see what I mean? What do I want for it? I don't want for anything. If I go and I just speak at a clinic, I get top dollar. So that's what happens. But he's also mastered his art.
Yes.
Okay. He's given it. He's mastered it. So you get money for mastering it, but still what happens is everybody's getting paid except the athlete. You might get one athlete paid, but what if I'm the seventh man on the team?
So you don't think that
I'm not getting nothing.
You don't think that program is going to suffer any?
No. It's Louisville.
It's Louisville.
Look, they might get Thad Matta. They might get the former head coach of Indiana. They're gonna get a big name person. They still gonna have to probably pay Rick. They'll buy Rick out where he's supposed to get $46 million. They'll probably say, hey, you know what? I'll give you $20 million and let's just cut ties. You know, that's what's gonna happen. It's not gonna suffer.
And he'll end up someplace else. But I thought the head coach of I think the head coach of not Buckner, Xavier has gone to Ohio State.
Oh, okay.
There's some changes going on, and I've been looking at this. I said, man, this is going to be an interesting year. Thad Matta, he's gone from Ohio State.
Yeah, I know he's gone.
And so they made that transition.
Who is it at Xavier? Because oh shucks, Mack is still Chris Mack is still at Xavier, and they're mentioning him for the Louisville job.
Oh, really?
And that's gonna be interesting because now they got to buy out his contract from Xavier, so he can be able to go to Louisville.
Mm.
So I'm trying to. I do know that they had got somebody else beside that, but I'm trying to remember who it was. Wasn't it? No, he went to Indiana. Miller went to Indiana. It was at University of Dayton. I'm trying to remember who this is.
I'm gonna try to look this up right quick.
Okay. Modern technology.
And the good thing about having a broadcast like this, we don't have to rush. It's and I'm sure our viewing audience is just soaking this up, at least the ones that love sports, because and then we can make mistakes and correct them, and we don't have to be censored.
Right. Then they got the head coach of Butler.
Butler, there we go.
Yeah, the head coach of Butler. That's
Chris Holtman. Chris Holtman.
And he'll do a good job. You know, he was under the tutelage of a good coach, and he's gonna have that work ethic to get it done. So that they should do well.
Where do you think that'll end up?
You say what? I'm sorry.
Where do you think Thad Matta end up?
Thad Matta could possibly end up with Louisville. I think it'll be him or Cream.
Of course, he said that he's going to focus on getting well. You know, I know he's really been having some physical issues for the last few years. Okay. And but he said he's going to focus on getting well, but he'll end up somewhere because I think he's a good coach. Other people like, well, he's not a good coach. He hid behind good players, but I mean, every coach, we see that with Kentucky. You know, he's hit the ball out of the park for years, and then he ends up with a team that's not as good, but yet that's what makes a good coach. He still turns out good teams.
One of the things that happens, and you know it yourself, is that Thad Matta made Ohio State a really good basketball team with a really strong football powerhouse. Mm-hmm. If you look at Kentucky, their football sucks. All right?
Right.
A lot of people say, oh, no, that's a basketball school. I ain't going there. And that's what they look at Ohio State. They say that's a basketball school. I mean, they say Michigan, but Michigan's been getting whooped by Ohio State, so that's why Michigan's basketball has been better. So you're either going to be a good football school or a good basketball school. I haven't seen a team that have been good at both. I've seen some that has a really good basketball program and a par football program, or a really good football program and a par basketball program. But I haven't seen too many of them excel at both.
So what do you have any predictions this year on the NCAA?
It's too early, man. The reason why is, in case you, in the future with this ongoing FBI investigation, there's some other people's names that are out there that, you know, that I'm not at liberty to say right now, but that I've heard that it'll shock the world, and it'll be different. You know, you can take a prize player off a Final Four team, or a couple of them, man. Now all of a sudden they're just average Joes. So it's gonna be, I would never. This is the first day of basketball practice for the men's coaches and the women's coaches. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because some more heads are going to fall.
So do you think they're looking at, you think,
not an NCAA investigation?
Right. You think they're looking at Kentucky?
Yeah, they're looking at Kentucky.
They're going to be looking at all the big boys.
Now, you know, if they got Louisville, the first thing that Louisville is saying is, hey, look at Kentucky, because they hate each other that much.
And what about Duke?
Yeah, they do. Well, Duke, look at that. Yeah, they're going to definitely look at Duke. I mean, they're going to definitely. Well, they already got Miami.
Yes.
And It's a lot more heads that's gonna fall.
Time to clean house. That's what the federal investigation. Time to clean house. They've been getting our money. You know, they're federally funded. Let's go in there and let's talk. Let's do business.
Well, I tell you what. If you look at the story that's on ESPN.com, it's like 18 pages of it. You will see that this has all been brought about by this gentleman by the name of Blazer, last name of Blazer, who was an agent, a football agent, and he was skimming money off the top from his clients. And what happened was they turned him in. You know, his clients turned him in as part of the plea bargaining. He said, "Hey, I can get you some guys." He just turned over some guys that are impacting college basketball, and the FBI jumped on this. And it's really something, man. It's a crazy story, and I'm like, wow! It involved a former referee from the NCAA, and he was in the NBA also, who was able to turn him over to Chuck Person. This is part of the story. Wow. And they were able to turn him over to Chuck Persons, who needed a loan at that time. And, man, it's incredible how everything snowballed and everything. And then Jay Williams, he came out, you know, the commentator now, who was from Duke, when he was working for Nike, he brought up dates and times where he gave certain players money. I mean, it's getting ready. They got the Nike grassroots program, the Nike elite program. Now they hollering about Under Armour. Man, look, the best shoes out next is going to be my man Ballers.
Hey, Bobby. Bobby, this is a wonderful segment. We call it Let's Talk Sports, and I'm going to look forward to bringing you on again so that we can talk more about the sports, what outlines sports, and what we can do to help our youth. I still say sports is a wonderful tool to create leadership and character in our youth, and I don't care how the media spins it. I don't care how dirty things start looking as it's getting cleaned up. You know, it's those of us at the top that can make sports all it needs to be, and we need to continue to clean it up and make it what it can be for these kids, because some of them, they don't have any other hope. I know for me, basketball was a savior. So, you know, I tell people, let's clean sports up. Let's keep it clean. There's a lot of things that I don't like happening, like, you know, they're letting boys who want to be girls, you know, compete against girls and all this type of stuff. And, you know, we got to clean this stuff up. And I think, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We can make a difference. At whatever level we're at, we need to take on the challenge, and we need to be there to fight for our young people. So in closing, what one thing would you encourage the student athletes to consider and really make a priority as they push into this year's season?
Well, I think that you got to go back to basics, and basics is God, family, all right, then team. God, family, team. And that's really, really important because, again, you know yourself, and I know it sometimes when the ball don't bounce right, and even it seems like sometimes your teammates are mad at you, and even sometimes even your family get mad at you. It's all you have is God, you know. And when you get into that prayer closet and you're able to just pray, you know, it helps you tremendously, you know. And I think that's really, really important. And the second thing that I think that's really important is have another outlet beside a sport.
Amen.
That teaches you how to be a Renaissance person. And, you know, and what I never forget that I was in the All-City Choir. And it was really funny because I wasn't the only one. Edward Bratcher, he was 6'8", and I'm 6'9", and we all in the All-City Choir having a good time. And if the basketball went bad that night, I still had All-City Choir practice, you know. And so what happens is it takes a lot of pressure off you. Some of the kids put so much pressure on them about basketball, football, baseball, track, all the time that they don't have time to be a kid. Don't
Yeah.
be a kid. Have
Yeah.
another outlet. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life. Live your life.
Yes. And
be a responsible citizen.
and you are a leader you're a leader in your church too, aren't you?
That's correct. I'm associate pastor at Second Baptist Church in Ogden, Utah.
Mm-hmm. So you're practicing what you preach.
Oh yeah, I've been blessed, man. I'm also the youth pastor, and them kids keep me going.
Bobby Porter, Coach Bobby Porter, Layton Christian Academy in Utah, in Layton, Utah. And I want you to know I love you. You're my brother, and we look forward.
I love you too, boy.
Yeah, we look forward
I love what you're doing. Keep up the good work, man.
Yeah, and we're gonna do that. Hey, we're challenging our viewing audience. We're expanding. Hey, we're expanding our viewing audience. We're planning a social media roundup. We're going to take all of our social media, and we want people to make it to Dayton and be here so that we can turn these digital relationships into something productive. You see my new shirt? I'm going to send you one of these, 100 strong.
I like that.
100 strong is about teamwork, that we're stronger working together as one than we are as individuals.
Oh, that's great, man. I'll wear it. I'll wear it to practice and everything.
Hey, I'm looking forward to you and me continuing dialogue on what we can do to coach men to be men. That's still on my heart.
God bless you, man. I'm looking forward to it. We only just begun.
Yes. Bless you, and we'll plan to get you rescheduled real soon here. Hey, have a great season, and God bless you.
God bless you too, man. Take care.
All right.